Alright, well, it's been a while since I've done a video, and spring is here, and I've gotten the urge to do something in the kitchen creative. And recently I've been getting in trying to discover baking things from scratch, making my own bread, and it's really not as hard as you'd think. And whole wheat bread has like 5 ingredients, but today I'm not making anything healthy. I was thinking about my grandmother who lived in Marks, Mississippi, and I remembered that she had one of her recipes published in the Delta Dining Cookbook, which was a little cookbook from their town, Marks, Mississippi. And anyway, her pound cake was something that we always enjoyed as kids, and she was afraid to fly, so she would ride the Greyhound bus from Mississippi to Greenville, South Carolina, and I remember her bringing a pound cake, and it was always excellent. So anyway, the recipe is not super difficult, and it's looks like 8 ingredients, maybe 9. It does have 6 eggs. So I've sort of pre-portioned everything. I'm just sort of gonna put this together, and hopefully this will be interesting. I'm not a baker. I feel pretty confident doing other things in the kitchen, but I'm enjoying learning, so we'll see. But I've got the flour measured out, and I also well, it's probably pre-sifted, but I always sift it. But I'm going to go ahead and sift the flour. This is my great aunt's flour sifter, and I also added a leavening agent, baking powder and baking soda, a teaspoon each. But the recipe doesn't call for one, and I don't know if that's an omission on her part. She's not a person that made mistakes. And I'm sure if she put the recipe in the cookbook, she didn't make a mistake. But I've never heard of a cake without some sort of leavening agent, and it calls for plain flour, which I would assume would be, not self-rising. So we'll see what happens. It's kind of exciting to make this recipe, and hopefully it will come out like hers. But I'm not going to worry too much. It's going to be good because it's got several different flavoring extracts that you add to it as well, including rum and brandy. So I just realized I forgot to open these, so I probably need to do that now. Tried to have everything ready, but you always forget something. Incidentally, if you need to buy flavoring extracts, they sell them at Aldi for less than half the price that a regular grocery store sells them. So that was one of the things that sort of encouraged me to make this, because I started doing the math of just how many. It's got lemon extract, it's got almond extract, it's got vanilla extract, and it called for brandy extract and rum. But I just went ahead and borrowed some from a friend who had it on hand. So we'll see if it makes a difference. I think you have to use a little bit more actual bourbon, or rum, if you don't use an extract. So, all right. So it says cream, the butter, and shortening and margarine. It calls for oleo, which I don't think they've made that in many decades. So I'm just doing regular margarine. And probably this might be one of those things that if you see what goes in it, you might not want to eat it if you're health conscious. I'm just sort of bending some of my own personal rules. I think in moderation, things like this are not too terrible. And people certainly lived a long time back then. But you gotta wonder with all the butter and sugar and shortening, which I'm just looking the other way on this one. I'm sure there's a way to avoid this, but I'm deciding that I'm just gonna make it the way she made it, and hopefully in small quantities, it'll be all right. Cream, shortening, sugar, add eggs one at a time. There's 6 eggs in this, I think I mentioned, but let's see. This recipe calls for 3 cups of sugar, which is another thing. This will be the only time I eat this. This is more sugar than I eat in a year, I'm sure. Well, probably not, I'm sure. Think about it, where they sneak it in everything. That seems to be pretty much creamed. I got 6 eggs to add, so I probably don't need to do too much concern over the perfection. It says to add the eggs one at a time, so I'm going to add them one at a time. This recipe is kind of interesting in that a friend called me and said she'd gotten a dozen eggs at Harris Teeter on sale for $1.99, which is like the price of 1 egg now. I mean, it's crazy how high they are. And so that came, this is one of the things I needed, 6 eggs. And then another friend was telling me they had the rum. And so I was like, you know, it seems like this is meant to be. I think I'm just gonna make this because it's all coming together without me having to do a lot of planning and buying expensive ingredients. So I thought, you know, why not? Also, I think my parents would enjoy having it. My mom, I think, really liked making this cake, think about her mother, my grandmother. So it's kind of fun to share it and bring back the memories. If it's successful, we'll see. This is my, I guess, first homemade cake from scratch. I did make there's a cake from Cavalcade of Food that is called the Cake That Won't Last, and that's kind of just, you assemble it. It's sort of a fancy banana cake, so it's or banana bread almost, but it's a cake, and that I've made, and it's really good. It's kind of like a carrot cake, but I guess that counts as baking. But it felt so easy to do that this seems like a little more daunting. So we'll see what happens. So it is 1 teaspoon each vanilla, lemon, almond, rum, and brandy. So she says to add it to the milk. So this is the rum and brandy that I got from a friend, and so I don't really have to measure that out. Is it barely gonna fit? We'll see. It's already smelling good, that's for sure. Almond. Vanilla. Add a little extra vanilla. One of my favorite online YouTube chefs is Simply Sarah, and she always adds extra vanilla because she's like, we like vanilla in this house, and I can say the same is true for me as well. I definitely like vanilla. So that's everything. Add flavor and then alternately with flour. Alright, so I've got this is going to be a little crazy. So I'll do a little bit of that. That. Well, it's definitely an interesting color. It's turning yellow. You definitely smell the almond. Gosh. That really... My big spatula is in the dishwasher, so I'm sort of having to make do with this tiny one, but it's at least Easter themed. So it's a festive. The other thing about the recipe is it calls, she says to put it in a cold oven, which I've never done that in the other recipe, and then it bakes at 325 for 2 hours. So that, not having the leavening agent, it's all a little bit kind of different, but we'll see. So I think we're done. I think this is basically completed. That's my neighbor's dog, Geely. I think he's noticing something to bark at, which is not terribly uncommon, but he's a good dog. So the other thing about baking is you have to put grease or shortening or butter in your baking pan and then flour it. So you kind of tap flour into the pan and sort of tip out the excess. This is a tube pan, which she says you can use, but it's a two-piece tube pan, which I've never used. This is my family home that I bought from my dad, but it's my great-grandparents' old house, which is why the kitchen is this old. I haven't gotten around to renovating, and I've gotten to where I kind of like the fact that it's the same kitchen I grew up coming to. So it's kind of a comforting feeling to cook in this kitchen after being here many times for meals, and just how wonderful my great aunts and uncles were. And I'm still using her stove, Aunt Edna, which is older than me, or almost as old as me. We're close to the same age, I think. But anyway, I'm using her baking pan. So this is a floured tube pan, and it's a two-piece one. I've never used one of these before. Well, there we go. So it comes apart. It's a little bit, I'm not 100% sure this is going to work. And someone that actually bakes is probably in the background right now watching this video saying, you know, you have to do this or that to make sure it doesn't leak. But we're going to find out. So I'm not worried too much. I'm having fun doing this, and it's a nice excuse to do something in the kitchen creative. And if it produces an edible cake, then that's even a bonus. I have been able to make my own bread successfully, and so I'm feeling somewhat comfortable with this, but learning is making mistakes. So if I've made a mistake, I will learn. So we'll see, but it sure smells good. Although I really wish I had that bigger spatula. That's definitely making this feel a little more challenging. I could probably just wash it off. But I watched the Cavalcade of Food. Kevin and Ralph over there making cooking videos. I watch Simply Sarah making her videos, and also Cast Iron Chaos, and the Mudbrooker, who also specializes in cast iron knowledge. But all of those people have given me the confidence to do this. And they make it look easy. That's the part that I'm definitely impressed by, is that it's not as easy to do something with a camera filming, but it's nice to learn something. We'll see. But those people are great resources if you're trying to branch out and learn something new. They're very good resources for good cooking videos and great entertainment. And they're just great people. And it's really cool that we have YouTube that allows us to meet these people and learn new techniques for doing things, and learn a little bit from their mistakes or their advice. So that's kind of cool too. So anyway, so this thing is basically ready to go in the oven. So I don't know. I don't know if I can successfully swing this camera around, but I will try. You can see what a 50 or 60-year-old stove looks like. All right, let's see. So, let's see if you can see this. It's a pretty batter. It's definitely got an interesting color. So it says put it in a cold stove for 2 hours at 325. Good old-fashioned American engineering, 325. No button pushing, no nothing. So anyway, thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll have another video showing the product that comes out of this. So we'll see how the finished product looks. Thank you.